Welcome to the History in Focus channel. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss more videos like this one. Milunka Savic was a Serbian combatant and the most decorated woman in war history. Disguised as a man, she enlisted and fought in several battles before being discovered. Instead of being expelled, she was allowed to continue in the army. Her bravery in combat earned her decorations from countries such as France, Russia, and Serbia, making her one of the greatest symbols of military courage. British nurse Edith Cavell treated wounded soldiers from both sides in German-occupied Belgium, but was executed by the Germans in 1915 for helping Allied troops escape to neutral Holland. Her death caused international outrage and was widely used in war propaganda, encouraging enlistment in the British Army. Marta Knokaert, a young Belgian woman, worked as a spy for British intelligence while serving as a volunteer in an army hospital. During the day, she received the German Iron Cross for her medical work, but at night, she gathered intelligence from enemy officers at her father's cafe. When discovered, she was sentenced to death, but her sentence was reduced to life imprisonment due to her military decoration. Gabrielle Petit, a young Belgian woman, became a spy for British intelligence after the German invasion of her country. Betrayed and captured, she faced her trial with defiance and challenged her captors up to the moment of her execution in 1916. Her bravery inspired Belgian resistance in both world wars, making her a symbol of defiance against occupation. Louise de Bétigny organized an extensive spy network in occupied France, providing vital intelligence to British intelligence. Her detailed reports revealed artillery positions and enemy troop movements with unmatched accuracy. Captured by the Germans in 1915, she was sentenced to prison, where she died in 1918 due to mistreatment, becoming a symbol of French resistance. Cleaning naval weapons required effort to remove production residues and ensure proper operation. Women performed this task in confined spaces, exposed to metal dust and chemical solvents. They worked under strict inspection standards, crucial to preventing malfunctions in battle. During the Finnish Civil War in 1918, women from the Red Guard were captured in Lahti by the White Forces. Many had fought as combatants or supported the socialist resistance. After surrendering, most were sent to prisoner camps, but some were executed shortly after this photo was taken. The conflict marked one of the most violent periods in Finland's history, with thousands of deaths. Women participated in firearms training in the United States, encouraged by patriotic and civil defense organizations. In Wakefield, Massachusetts, civilians were trained to handle rifles, both for national defense and to support military efforts. Some women joined auxiliary units, while others prepared for security roles. The explosion in Silvertown, London, destroyed the Venesta packing factory and much of the surrounding neighborhood. The detonation of 83 tons of TNT was one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in history, killing more than 70 people and injuring about 500. Many factory workers were women, highlighting the dangers they faced in the munitions industry during the war. Dorothy Lawrence disguised herself as a man to enlist as a soldier in the British Army during the war. Using a fake uniform and adopting a male name, she managed to infiltrate combat lines in France. After a few weeks, her identity was discovered, and she was detained. Although she never officially fought, her story revealed the restrictions imposed on women in military service. 2 workers at the National Shell Filling Factory inspect shells of different calibers, produced on a large scale to supply the front. The factories operated under strict secrecy, with rigid protocols to prevent sabotage and information leaks. Safety measures were minimal, and any mistake in handling explosives could result in fatal accidents. A Russian women's regiment from Petrograd, now St. Petersburg, rests in front of tents during the war. These units were created to reinforce the army amid rising desertions. Composed of volunteers trained for combat, the regiment was sent to the front lines but faced resistance and hostility from male soldiers, limiting its effectiveness. Marjorie Stinson was one of the first women to become a pilot in the United States. During the war, she trained military aviators and conducted support flights. Unlike many women of her time, she was accepted into aviation schools and gained respect for her skill. In 1917, she contributed to training Army pilots, becoming a pioneer in aviation. Julia Stimson was superintendent of the U.S. Army Nurse Corps and the first woman to achieve the rank of major in the Army. During the war, she coordinated field hospitals in France, overseeing the care of thousands of wounded soldiers. Her work was crucial in organizing medical services, and for her dedication, she received the Distinguished Service Medal. Loretta Perfectus Walsh joined the United States Naval Reserve in March of 1917, becoming the first woman to serve on active duty in the Navy and the first female military member outside the nursing field. Her enlistment paved the way for women's participation in administrative, technical, and support roles during the war. Her admission marked the beginning of women's formal presence in the U.S. Armed Forces. Grace Banker receives the Distinguished Service Medal for her role as Chief Operator in the U.S. Army Signal Corps. During the war, she led a group of telephone operators known as the Hello Girls, responsible for coordinating communications between Allied units. She worked in an advanced post in France, facing bombings and hardships to ensure fast and secure transmissions. Female war workers marched to Buckingham Palace on June 29, 1918, in recognition of their contribution to the war effort. Among them are nurses, munitions factory workers, and military service volunteers. With over 1 million British women employed in industry and hospitals, this ceremony symbolizes the changing role of women in society and the workforce. A group of women from Lowell, Massachusetts, forms the first Women's Death Battalion of America in 1917. Inspired by Russian units, the team trained in combat, military discipline, and weapons use, challenging the notion that war was exclusively for men. Despite their efforts, the unit was never formally incorporated, but it symbolized the growing female participation in national defense. Flora Sandis initially volunteered for an ambulance unit of the Order of St. John in Serbia, but eventually enlisted in the Serbian army, becoming the only foreign woman to fight as a soldier. In 1916, she was awarded the Order of the Star of Karađorđe, Serbia's highest military decoration. In 1919, she achieved a historic milestone by becoming the first commissioned female officer in the country's army. Helena Gleichen and Nina Hollings operate X-ray equipment on the battlefield, assisting surgeons in removing shrapnel and bullets. As radiologists on the Italian front, they worked under constant risk to improve medical treatment for the wounded. Their contributions earned them decorations from both Italy and the United Kingdom. Maria Bochkareva, known as Yashka, was a Russian soldier who founded the first Women's Death Battalion in 1917, an all-female combat unit. Unlike other formations, her battalion was highly disciplined and trained to fight on the front lines, participating in the Kerensky Offensive. Despite their bravery, they faced resistance within the army and were disbanded months later. Here we see members of the first Russian Women's Death Battalion alongside Maria Bochkareva, far right. These volunteers were trained for direct combat and served in the trenches alongside male soldiers. Their participation aimed to boost army morale, but despite their discipline and courage, the battalion could not reverse the widespread discontent among the troops. The Women's Guard of Viti, one of the few units formed in rural areas, was composed of local domestic workers who took on military roles during the conflict. These women received basic training and were responsible for defending the region, reinforcing security in a period of instability. Despite their lack of military experience, they played a strategic role in local defense. After being rejected by the Australian Imperial Force, Dr. Agnes Bennett volunteered for the Scottish Women's Hospitals for Foreign Service, working on the front lines. Her dedication led her to become the first female commissioned surgeon in the British Army, breaking barriers in a male-dominated field. Her experience helped expand the role of women in military medicine. Men and women worked side by side, filling shells in a factory in Chilwell in 1917. Women played critical roles in ammunition production, but faced resistance from men who opposed equal pay. The factory later suffered one of the largest industrial explosions in the United Kingdom, killing 134 people, most of them women. In a munitions factory in Paris in 1916, women assemble shells, fitting fuses, and sealing cartridges. Exposure to gunpowder and chemicals causes nausea, dizziness, respiratory issues, and yellowed skin. The noisy environment and the risk of explosions make the work exhausting, but their dedication ensures the supply of ammunition to the French troops during the conflict. At the Vickers factory in January of 1915, women inspect and finalize shells, playing a vital role in the war industry. With men absent, the female workforce grew, reaching about 80% of ammunition production in the United Kingdom. The intense pace required each worker to handle hundreds of shells daily, enduring exhausting shifts. Women dismantle old books as part of the recycling program of the London and South West Railway in 1917. The recovered paper is reused for administrative documents and military packaging, reducing reliance on imports. With the war affecting the supply of raw materials, recycling became an essential strategy to maintain the production of supplies and communications. Here we see Mary Chisholm and Elsie Knocker driving an ambulance in 1917. The two British women operated a first aid post in Belgium, just 100 yards from the trenches, providing immediate treatment to wounded soldiers before transporting them to field hospitals. Unlike most nurses who worked far from the front, they remained under fire, reducing deaths from shock and hemorrhage. Lottie Mead worked in a munitions factory when she was exposed to TNT, a highly toxic substance used in shell filling. Prolonged contact caused poisoning, leading to liver and respiratory problems. Many female workers, known as canaries, suffered from yellowed skin due to contamination. Lottie was one of the fatalities of this dangerous job. In factories, women like Lottie filled shells with TNT, working in booths to reduce exposure. Despite precautions, continuous contact led to dizziness, anemia, and liver failure. Even with gloves and ventilation, the risks remained high. During the war, hundreds of female workers fell seriously ill or died due to the urgent need for supplies at the front. Female medical teams worked directly in the trenches, providing aid under enemy fire. Nurses from the British Yeomanry Corps transported wounded soldiers to treatment stations, often in makeshift locations. Working under extreme conditions, they played a vital role in quickly evacuating and stabilizing injured soldiers. The Women's Fire Brigade was created in 1916 to address the shortage of personnel, training women to fight fires and perform rescues. At the time, urban fires were frequent, and quick response was crucial. In this record from March, the group's leader directs firefighters who, despite exhaustion and danger, follow strict protocols to ensure public safety. During a training session in March of 1916, female firefighters climb buildings and operate hoses, simulating a real fire. The work demands endurance, as each piece of equipment weighs about 33 pounds and the ladders can exceed 33 feet. Besides fighting fires, they are trained to evacuate the injured amid structural collapses. Despite lacking official recognition at the time, their efforts were critical in civil protection. A woman molds a steel knee splint at the supply depot of Kensington War Hospital, ensuring support for wounded soldiers. The manufacture of splints and prosthetics became crucial due to the high number of battlefield injuries. With the increasing demand, women began working in the production of medical equipment, playing a fundamental role in soldiers' recovery. A worker at the South Metropolitan Gas Company operates a retort house furnace on Old Kent Road, London. Her job involves operating kilns used to convert coal into gas, essential for lighting and heating. The intense heat and constant inhalation of soot make the environment hostile. During the war, women took on these heavy tasks to ensure the city's energy supply. An American nurse emerges from a trench shelter wearing a gas mask, essential for protection against chemical attacks. Near the front lines, she treats soldiers poisoned by mustard gas and phosgene, which cause burns and respiratory failure. The advancement of chemical weapons transformed nursing work, requiring new treatment techniques and improvisation in response to severe injuries. Women in the United States Air Service posed next to an aircraft in 1917. During the war, they served as flight instructors, mechanics, and communications operators, while men were sent into combat. Although they were not allowed to fly in combat missions, their work was crucial in maintaining the fleet and training new aviators. Lena Higbee, Chief Nurse of the U.S. Navy, served as Superintendent of the Navy Nurse Corps during the war. Under her leadership, the number of nurses significantly increased to meet the medical demands of the conflict. In recognition of her service, she became the first woman to receive the Navy Cross, one of the highest military decorations in the United States. Mary Sophia Allen inspects police officers in London in May of 1915. Before the war, she was arrested 3 times for her suffragist activism. She refused an offer to work in an embroidery guild to join the women's police service, becoming second in command. Her work helped expand women's roles in law enforcement, focusing on protecting women and children during wartime. During the war, the U.S. Army recruited women to operate military telephone exchanges, ensuring rapid communication between units. More than 400 were sent to France and England by the Army Signal Corps, facilitating transmissions among allies. Fluent in both French and English, they played a crucial role, but were only recognized as veterans decades later. Women feed coal furnaces in a factory, enduring extreme heat and toxic dust. The constant soot exposure caused respiratory problems, and some workers used damp cloths to reduce particle inhalation. Despite the harsh conditions, many saw this work as a way to contribute to the war effort. In this photo, children attend class while their mothers work in ammunition production in Gretna Green. With increasing female participation in the war industry, the government funded nurseries to support working mothers. By 1917, more than 100 childcare centers were operating across the country, allowing women to contribute to the war effort without neglecting their children. A female worker operates a machine that molds part of the trigger guard for the Lewis light machine gun, widely used by British and Allied forces. The production of these weapons required precision, and many women were trained to operate industrial machines. The Lewis gun was valued for its lightness and reliability on the battlefield. The Yeomanettes were the first women to serve on active duty in the U.S. Navy, performing administrative, technical, and intelligence roles during the war. In this image, they pass inspection in 1919, dressed in formal uniforms with dark blazers and wide-brimmed hats. Despite their service, they were discharged after the war without military benefits. Women took on aircraft maintenance roles during the war, ensuring that planes were ready for missions. Mechanics inspected engines, repaired fuselages, and adjusted essential components. In France, where military aviation was expanding rapidly, their presence was fundamental. Despite their skills, many were removed from the field after the war ended. In an engineering workshop, a group of women assembles military vehicles, adjusting parts and ensuring everything functions perfectly. The work requires strength and precision, but the need to keep production going pushes them to overcome challenges daily. Besides operating heavy machinery, many learn to drive trucks and tanks, a skill previously restricted to the military. The presence of women in engineering was an unexpected but essential change. From the early years of the war, women learned to operate machines, assemble engines, and troubleshoot mechanical failures. Some became so skilled that they started training new workers. After the conflict, though many were removed from factories, some remained in the industry, helping to redefine the labor market. Members of the Women's Royal Air Force arrive at Buckingham Palace in July of 1919 for a celebration honoring war workers. Created a year earlier, the female unit provided support to military aviation, working as mechanics, drivers, and administrators. After the conflict, many of these women returned to civilian life, but their service paved the way for future generations in aviation. Women work on the production of gas masks in a factory in Geneva, Switzerland. With the increasing use of chemical weapons on the front, the demand for this equipment rose rapidly. The workers performed tasks such as assembling filters, cutting fabrics, and testing seals. Although Switzerland was neutral, its industries provided essential supplies to several nations involved in the conflict. In an armament factory in England, in 1915, a female worker welds metal parts for ammunition production. Wearing protective goggles, a headscarf, and an apron, she handles a blowtorch with precision. Despite the initial lack of experience, many women received basic training to operate machines and tools, taking on essential roles in the war industry during the conflict. With the absence of porters at Marylebone Station in London, women take on the task of transporting heavy packages between trains and warehouses. The work requires strength, a fast pace, and long hours in all weather conditions. Besides the physical effort, they face initial skepticism about their abilities, but quickly become indispensable for keeping the station operational. Female ambulance drivers march in formation during a parade in London in 1915, highlighting their discipline and dedication. They face dangerous roads, bombings, and long hours at the wheel to transport wounded soldiers. Besides driving, they handle mechanical failures and provide first aid, taking on a crucial role in rescue operations and emergency care near the front lines. During an official inspection in 1916, members of the National Motor Volunteer Reserve of the British Army receive instructions from a commander. These women serve as drivers, mechanics, and transport aides, ensuring the movement of soldiers and supplies. Besides driving skills, they must handle maintenance and emergencies in harsh conditions. Recruits of the United Kingdom's female army participate in exercises amid a new phase of the war. With the creation of units such as the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, they take on support roles, freeing more soldiers for the front lines. Training includes military discipline, communication, and logistics. Despite initial restrictions, their contribution proves indispensable to the British forces' structure. A young woman operates a lathe in a weapons factory in the United Kingdom around 1916. Precision in machining metal parts is crucial for cannon and ammunition production. Working shifts of up to 12 hours, many develop hearing problems due to constant noise. Despite the harsh conditions, factory workers start earning better wages, marking a shift in women's economic roles. Female navvies push wheelbarrows loaded with rubble in Coventry around 1917, taking on roles previously performed by construction workers. The term, derived from navigator, referred to workers who dug canals and railways. During the war, they repaired roads, railways, and factories, ensuring the maintenance of infrastructure under exhausting conditions. Women wait for information on nursing vacancies at the American Red Cross in 1918. To serve, prior training or experience was required, but the high demand led to the creation of intensive courses. Many were sent to field hospitals in Europe, dealing with severe injuries and epidemics. Throughout the war, more than 20,000 American nurses served in conflict zones. A member of the Women's Royal Air Force is mounted on a Clino motorcycle with a sidecar, used to transport documents, parts, and personnel between military bases. Female couriers faced poor road conditions, bad weather, and in conflict zones, the risk of bombings. Their role was essential in maintaining fast communication between units, ensuring efficient logistical support. A member of the Women's Forestry Corps cuts wood to meet the demand for coal, railroad ties, and other war materials. Created to replace male lumberjacks, the group operated saws, axes, and handled log transportation. The felled trees were used to build barracks, stakes, and railway repairs. The work followed an intense pace to maintain a steady supply. After a morning of cutting and stacking logs, forestry workers take a lunch break in 1918. Besides harvesting wood, they were responsible for replanting to ensure a continuous supply. Many had never worked in the sector, but quickly learned to handle tools and logistics. The timber industry was crucial in keeping industry and infrastructure running. A propaganda poster from the Ministry of Labor calls for women to join the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, emphasizing the urgent need for volunteers. It encourages recruitment for roles such as cooks, clerks, waitresses, and mechanic drivers, both in the United Kingdom and abroad. The promise of good wages, housing, and uniforms helped attract thousands of women to military service. Elsie Inglis, a Scottish surgeon and suffragist, founded the Scottish Women's Hospitals for Foreign Service, an initiative supported by the suffragist movement. A total of 14 hospitals were established across 7 countries, treating wounded soldiers. Her work in Serbia earned her the Order of the White Eagle, the country's highest honor, making her the first woman to receive it. Olive May Kelso King, an Australian, drove ambulances for the Scottish Women's Hospitals and later for the Serbian Army, transporting wounded soldiers under extreme conditions. In the final stages of the war, she organized mobile canteens to feed the Serbian population, which had been devastated by the conflict. In recognition of her service, she received 4 medals from the Serbian government for her humanitarian efforts. Female motorcyclists were recruited as messengers, transporting documents and orders between units. Facing difficult terrain and constant risks, they were essential in maintaining communication during telegraph system failures. By 1917, this service had become crucial, allowing for greater mobility and quick response to battlefield changes. Members of the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps pay tribute to British soldiers buried in Abbeville, France, in 1918. In addition to their military and logistical support roles, these women actively participated in memorial ceremonies, honoring the sacrifices of fallen soldiers. A driver from the Great Eastern Railway Company operates an electric truck loaded with packages. The use of battery-powered vehicles reduced the need for fuel, a scarce resource during the war. These women helped ensure the continuous distribution of essential supplies. In New York, a group of women marches with enthusiasm, raising their hats in celebration. They are part of the female units that gained recognition in the U.S. war effort. With roles in logistics, communications, and military support, these women challenged societal norms and paved the way for future generations. Catherine First joined the Voluntary Aid Detachment in 1909 and, with the outbreak of the war, led the first VAD unit sent to France. In 1917, she became director of the Women's Royal Naval Service. Recognized for her work, she received 3 service medals and the GBE Honor, the highest British civilian distinction. This women's soccer team was composed of workers from the AEC munitions factory in Beckton, London. With women entering the war industry, sports were encouraged to maintain health and morale. Many factories formed their own teams, and women's soccer gained popularity, even attracting large crowds for charity matches. Julia Grace Wales was a Canadian academic who in December of 1914 proposed the Wisconsin Plan, also called the Canada Plan. Her idea was to gather intellectuals from neutral countries to mediate a diplomatic solution to the war. Presented to the U.S. Congress, the plan caught the interest of President Woodrow Wilson, but lost momentum when the U.S. entered the conflict in 1917. Women in the laboratory of Brunner, Mond & Co. in Northwich work on the production of baking soda. Besides its use in food, this compound had various industrial and medical applications. The female workers handled tasks ranging from scientific analysis to packaging the final product, reflecting the increasing presence of women in the industry. Women of the Wigan Coal and Iron Company in 1918 work in coal sorting and transport at the surface of the mine. The job required strength and endurance, being considered heavy and hazardous. These workers had performed this role before the war and remained essential during the conflict, ensuring coal supply for industry and the war effort. Workers at Charles McIntosh & Sons in Manchester manufacture tires for military vehicles. The company also produced rubber items for the war, such as gas mask mouthpieces for soldiers. The process required precision and dexterity, being one of many sectors where women took on strategic industrial roles. Female workers at Turner Brothers in Manchester produce asbestos mattresses used for thermal insulation in warship boilers. Though valued for its heat resistance at the time, asbestos posed serious health risks. Prolonged exposure to its fibers could cause severe lung diseases such as asbestosis and mesothelioma, issues unknown at the time. Armies such as the Austro-Hungarian military operated mobile brothels to serve soldiers near the front lines. In this image, one of these establishments is set up in a wooden cart, with a woman visible in the window and another standing by a counter. The military strictly controlled these sites, conducting regular medical examinations to attempt to reduce the spread of venereal diseases among soldiers. Amid the wartime labor shortage, women took on agricultural roles to ensure food production. In this image, a woman leads a horse-drawn cart on a farm in Surrey in 1917. Wearing practical uniforms and protected against the cold and mud, these workers endured harsh conditions to maintain food supplies. Marie Marvingt is seen in the photo seated in an airplane, dressed in pilot gear. Recognized as a pioneer in aviation, she became the first woman to fly combat missions for the French Army during World War I. Additionally, she played a crucial role in advancing medical aviation, promoting the use of aircraft for evacuating wounded soldiers from combat zones.